Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm the Weather Dude, and today we're going to be talking about the extreme pattern flip that could take place across the United States. Before we get started with the video though, if you guys have not already, please consider subscribing. It really does help my channel grow. I want to thank you guys so much for 2,000 subscribers. We've flown past, and hopefully we can hit our next goal of 3,000 subscribers soon. And also, to help this video reach more people, please consider liking and sharing it as well. And let's get into the video now. And again, please make sure to watch the whole video so you don't miss out on great weather content. And again, I do apologize for the slight lack of uploading. We do have to consider the fact that this here still does exist. All right, but I'm trying my very best to get back on track, and we're back on track here. And hopefully I'll be doing a lot, because today, even through the next week or two, there's going to be a lot to talk about. So I'm really excited for this. And we have, starting off here, is a 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. We got a whole array of maps and stuff to show you guys. I will probably, because there is potential snowstorms in the forecast, but of course I could talk about those individually down the road. And we have first of all, our temperature graphic here, which basically shows you the probability of seeing warmer or colder temperatures within a certain time period. So the time period that we have set here is January 22nd through the 26th here, all right? And you can see both the West Coast, all right, and the East Coast, at least from Mid-Atlantic to Northeast, actually are below average. So we're kind of like flipping the coin. I know it's been a bit of a frustrating winter for some of us. Some of us has been a great winter. Like up in New York, actually, where Winter Storm Gale hit its hardest with like 3-4 feet of snow. You know, I mean, it's a pretty good winter for you guys up there. All right, but the southeast and extreme southern plains could be a bit warmer during this time period. All right, and now we're going to look at the temperature, or sorry, precipitation. Now, northeast and New England could be slightly below average, but the fact that we're seeing cooler temperatures is a good start. But much of the country, actually, from the west to the southeast to the plains, I mean, basically everyone except northeast and New England, and except for central and southern Florida. Other than that, most of the country is going to see above average precipitation for the whole country as a whole. All right, so we're not really talking about like the east is going to be wet and the west is going to be dry. And this is great news for the west, by the way, because it's January. You would think wildfires were going to be over around December. You know, once winter kicks in, we usually start to see that change, but it really hasn't started yet. But the fact that we're getting some above average precip, I think, will definitely help out the West Coast and help out those firefighters a lot. And if we look at the 8 to 14 day outlook, really looks interesting. So this is the 24th, basically through the end of January now. And you can see the darkest shade of blue, the highest confidence of cooler air, basically lies over the southeast coast, the mid-Atlantic, even parts of the northeast, as well as the northwest coast and north central plains. All right, but basically the whole country is going to be below average, or a chance to be below average, with the exception of New Mexico and Texas. All right, so definitely a pattern flip. And definitely something to watch, and potential for some snow in some areas, right? Maybe some snow to come back if you get some colder than average air or temperatures, and above average precip, of course, we can get that. And still, look at the precip. Above average precip for the Great Lakes and middle part of the country. Again, with the exception of maybe northern New England, Florida, the peninsula part of Florida, as well as Texas and New Mexico. Other than that, again, above average precip, and of course, for the West, that's definitely what we want to see. All right, now a brief look. Been a little while since we looked at these, our oscillations. Now, what's funny is actually our PNA during this time period will actually be dropping. And I know a negative PNA can mean warmer times for the East, but it's actually because of our other oscillations, which you'll see in a little bit. You'll see why. All right, so PNA will actually be dropping to negative, right? I mean, you can't lie about that. It definitely looks like it will be plummeting through mid to end January, right? But if we look at our NAO, right, that's going to continue to stay below zero. All right, and that's definitely obviously a good sign, as well as the Arctic oscillation will definitely be staying below zero. So I think these two oscillations really coordinating with each other, I think is really, because obviously it's in the name too, right? Arctic oscillation has a lot to do with the Arctic air. All right, and NAO plays a big part as well. So now we're going to be looking kind of like the 500 millibar heights, kind of showing you what it could look like, what kind of storm systems we could have. So of course, we had that storm that's moving through Winter Storm Malcolm, that's slowly making its way out through northeast, so it's moving pretty slow. I think it may have started to pick up a little bit of speed, but so much wind. there was actually a report. I'm not sure if it was Montana, but it was about 3,000 to 5,000 feet up, and they had a wind gust of 125 miles an hour, believe it or not. Right? I mean, it's only a few thousand feet up, right? That's even for elevation that high, you never see winds that strong. So, right, like even Mount Washington, New Hampshire, probably doesn't get winds that strong a lot. So that's like almost Category 4 force wind gust. So this storm was a huge wind maker and also a pretty decent snow maker, but the wind, like the very strong wind combined with the okay amounts of snow, really made for a disaster here. And you're going to see these dips in the jet stream, and obviously we do have the low that's going to be dipping into or off the west coast of California. Now this is good, right? I mean, we do get some moisture influence from this, but it's also going to kick up those Santa Ana winds still, so it's obviously not good news either. The low's going to kind of break off from the main branch of the jet stream that you see here, right? And this is just one model. We have a couple other models to show as well. This is the GFS for right now, but you can kind of see these plummets of cold air that are trying to make their way in, right? They're not quite getting there yet, right? But we'll give it time, of course, and you're going to see these low pressure systems start to track their way in, and of course, bringing some pretty cold air with them. All right, it's going to start to get pretty cold, and I think this next cold wave that could come in will probably bring us pretty close to average, maybe just slightly below. But it won't, even though it's going to feel cold compared to what we've been seeing. All right, but some Arctic air will still definitely be there. Now, European, we're forced to kind of go in. We're forced to hone in on the United States. We can't really zoom out that much farther. But that's okay. We get a zoomed in look here. So again, here's that low that kind of breaks off the branch of the jet stream. Very powerful looking, mind you. Dropping through California. It's going to up those Santa Ana winds here. You got to have the winds coming in on this way, and then you're going to have a high pressure system. All right, that's also going to be forcing the winds kind of down this way. So not really looking too good for the wind, but it could bring in some moisture. So we definitely look at the positive side of that. All right. And then our next system kind of drops in right here. You kind of see like a little rotation. So there's going to be a couple waves, right, of some stronger storms that will be making their way on the west coast and eventually make their way to the east coast, right? But that's more so long-term or mid-term than short-term. So here we have our Canadian model now, all right? And as you can see, there's Malcolm kind of moving its way out of the northeast. We have several jet stream dips here. One for Wednesday, as you can see. Again, there's that storm near California that, or I'll just call it a low-pressure system for now. We don't quite know if it's going to organize into a big storm yet. But again, these dips in the jet stream, you saw one here and now there's one here. All right, so definitely something we're going to need to keep our eyes on for sure. Now, one thing that really surprised me, now the CFS model isn't really I wouldn't call it warm bias, but it does have a tendency to kind of do so. So seeing this really did shock me. But overall, I would say CFS is a pretty good model, but because this is a weekly graphic, right? So for the first 1, 2, or 3 weeks, this is a good one. This is a good model in terms of accuracy. But if you look at this model data for weeks 4 through 6, it may not be so accurate. So good on short term, maybe not so much long term, in my opinion, of course. So here we have the CFS. Again, it's the average of the last 48 forecasts here. 12 runs, you multiply that by 4 members. All right, so it's kind of like an ensemble model. So this is the 16th through the 23rd, and the 500 millibar heights. You can see got a big dome of high pressure off the west coast, and therefore the east coast we do see a big dip in the jet stream. All right, definitely a changing pattern, right? And this is the 23rd through the 30th, still kind of the same pattern here, except this time the west also flips, so it kind of looks like the northeast, right? So the northwest and the northeast won't be like dueling enemies, they'll be like actually kind of similar. And then our warmer air or our slightly dry air will kind of be found down towards the southern plains and the southeast. So that's kind of like the way it's looking right now, a lot of model agreement in that. And then kind of a similar pattern. This is from the end of January for like the first week of February. Again, still kind of some stormy or maybe some cooler times for the northwest, maybe even the northeast hanging on for a little bit longer. But again, we're starting to see that higher pressure starting to build in southern plains, southeast, and then like I said, now we're getting towards week 4 at this point. So keep that in mind. All right, this is like the first week or 2 of February. So if we look now at how that relates to the temperature graphic, right? Here's the where are we? Yeah, 16th to the 23rd, right? It's kind of looks warm. The exception for the southeast. Southeast does look a little bit cooler, all right, than average. But watch as we flip over to the 23rd to the 30th. You can see the northeast, mid-Atlantic gets pretty cold, as well as California and parts of the west coast, right? And again, that higher pressure, that orange color you saw in the south, all right, in the southern plains, that's where our warmer air is. Even through 30th of January to 6th of February, it's going to make the cold air is going to dive in sort of in this direction, right? And because of the way the cold air is coming in, the northwest will be cold all the way down to the mid-Atlantic. So that's kind of why it looks like that, right? The East Coast weather does not always have to be opposite of West Coast weather, all right? There are times where it can be pretty similar overall. And again, there's your Southern Plains region in that slightly warmer air. All right, so now let's go over to the precipitation, because I know we all want to know, like, there's cold air, but if there's more moisture, obviously you can get the snow in some areas. I know you're all wondering that. And for at least according to the CFS, all right, 23rd to the 30th, precipitation, some spots will be above average. Some spots will actually, most spots might even be below, especially through the Gulf Coast. Still California, according to this, still slightly drier, even New England as well. But there will be some areas, Tennessee Valley, Central Plains, or Northern Plains, I should say, that could be on the wetter side of things, or depending on if there's enough cold air, snowier side of things. We see a little bit more concentration of that green color over the Midwest, 30th through the 6th. So I think that's definitely more snow events could build in, right? More cold air combined with farther above average precip. Northwest California is kind of average. Southern California is still slightly drier, but Northwest, the Northwest, some areas just don't even need the precip in some of those areas. All right, it all depends. It's very localized up there. All right, and then of course average conditions probably for the north. All right, but still overall wetter than average for the eastern part, except for places such as the Gulf Coast. And now we're going to take a look at our GEFS model, kind of like another variant of the GFS. All right, and this is 5-day increments. So we have 17th through the 22nd. This is 18th through the 23rd, and so on. So here we have, again, we see a brief high pressure, kind of like what we call, if you have ever heard of the Southeast Ridge, all right, that kind of starts to build down here. And that's going to kind of push, it's going to keep the Southeast warm, but what it could do is keep the West and even the Northeast kind of cooler and stormier. So that could be a pattern we could be seeing. Again, you see it's a pretty weak ridge that to start off with at first. All right, and then you kind of see the air kind of moves around that way. All right, and we still get some colder air, right? But you see at least some stormier pattern as well, whether that's rain or snow, we don't quite know yet, of course. And also it depends on which area you're talking about. So looking, you can definitely see the Southeast Ridge. You can definitely see it in the temperature graphic, right? It does kind of weaken off a little bit. So Mid-Atlantic and Southeast is warm at first. Watch the cold air in the Arctic coming from here. And as that Southeast Ridge weakens off, right, that gives the chance for the cold air to invade with force as well. This is the 25th through the 30th, Four Corners region down the spine of Mexico. Still some warmer air. But other than that, most of the United States is below average temperatures at this point. And there you go. So here we have the precipitation, again, according to our GEFS model, right? And it kind of puts that stripe of above average precip, not on the Gulf Coast, but across Tennessee, Mississippi Valley, maybe even Central and Southern Plains as well. Now, if I was doing a video on an individual snowstorm, I'd take a look at a lot more models. But to wrap it up here, we're going to be taking a look at the GFS and European models just because of it's like mid to long term, and like next video or next couple of videos when we talk about like the snowstorms individually, of course, we're going to look at a lot more models. But here we have the GFS model first, and it's going to get pretty interesting. Now, nothing's going to happen right away, right? It may even be a few days out. It might even be a week out. It might be more than that. But eventually, you're going to start to see these southern sliders develop like you see here, right? This could be a snowmaker. Again, it's pretty long term. We don't quite know yet, but it's nice to have an idea, of course. All right, and then a bigger system kind of does emerge. This is towards the 26th, end of January timeframe. Maybe some snow for parts, or even ice for parts of the Great Lakes. Maybe some snow for the Mid-Atlantic. It looks like a big snowstorm. Like this is like you can see the pressure, right? Look at 999, and then let me do 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks. That's 24 hours later, and it's down to 981, 978, 967 even. So we could even have a bomb cyclone or a nor'easter develop. So that's definitely in the realm of possibilities. And look, even another storm out ahead of that. All right, comes in on I was about to say New Year's Eve. No, January 31st. I thought that said December for a second. But end of January, could even see another storm from there as well. All right, so looking pretty interesting. Now, here we have the snowfall. Now, what's actually interesting, on this website, the snowfall graphic only used to go out 10 days, but now we can actually extend it out a little bit further. All right, so some areas like looking like parts of Jersey could even see above a foot of snow. So definitely looking like an active snow pattern for the east. And basically, like I was saying, right, everywhere except the southeast because of that ridge that we're seeing, right? Not as much rain, therefore not as much snow in the southeast, but everywhere else, I mean the west, northern plains, even northeast. So see, it kind of like kind of like backs my point here, right? We're going to have like the southeast ridge, not as much snow or precip down there. And if we look now at the European model, right, this model, of course, only goes out 10 days. It always has, right? That's just the European model. So there is Malcolm pulling out of New England, right? And then again, maybe a weaker system moves across 21st, 22nd. We see it kind of like what the GFS was saying. And then a much bigger, badder storm kind of emerges here as we head through January 26th. So pretty much agreeing with the timing. And if this were to go out further, I'm sure it would probably agree with the GFS more as well. But there's your snowfall total, 6 to 12 inches. Again, we're not quite sure yet, so don't take these with a grain of salt. But just an idea that a much more extreme pattern. Like this is like, you gotta admit, if you live anywhere in the east, it's kind of boring, 40s, and it's just. I know some of us want to see snow. Not all of us do, but some of us do, of course. But west and the east, two stormy areas, and some areas we're definitely gonna have to watch over time. So thank you guys for watching today's video. Welcome back. Glad you returned. I am the Weather Dude signing off. Till next time, I will catch you guys in the next video.